All right, it is 2:15 Eastern Time, and this is Christine Johnson with InTAC-C. I'm welcoming you today to Maximizing Your Strategic Planning to Improve Outcomes for Students and Youth with Disabilities, STEM Echo at the student, school, and community level. Our presenters today are Charlotte Alverson from the University of Oregon, Kathy Knowles, Transition Specialist at Corbett High School, and Zach Good, the career and tech education teacher at Corbett High School. So without further delay, I'll turn it over to Charlotte.
Thanks, Christine. And welcome everyone to this session. I just want to take a few minutes to acknowledge some other of our team members who aren't with us today. Matt Bell is my co-principal investigator, co-PI, also here at the University of Oregon. And he is director of the Oregon Career Information System, CIS, and the rest of the Corbett team who are very busy doing testing and other responsibilities around the school district. Bill Harlow is our special education teacher, and Chris Holden is our community member. And this project that we're going to share with you today was funded by the National Science Foundation as part of a research grant. Our outcomes today, Corbett is going to share with you some of the strategies that they have employed to increase student learning of career and tech ed STEM programs at three levels: the student level, the school level, and the community level. And then we're also going to talk about what supports help school staff implement some of the changes that Zach and Kathy are going to share with you. The purpose of our grant was to develop, test, integrate, and disseminate new strategies and online tools for the purpose of increasing awareness of and engagement in STEM career pathways for high school students with disabilities. And so our project title is Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics, Developing Education and Career Opportunity Systems. So we really did want to look at it across three different systems. When we talk about STEM, there are actually two economies that are STEM related. The first one is probably what comes to most people's mind. It's that traditional STEM programming and traditional STEM economy that's grounded in graduate school. If you think about aero engineers and astrophysicists, and there's a strong linkage to research. There's a strong linkage to the corporate sector. And graduate school is needed even for the entry-level programs oftentimes. That's the traditional professional STEM economy. On the other side is the STEM economy that we're really interested in for this project, which are those opportunities for high school graduates, those opportunities for individuals who get some further education beyond high school, maybe in a short-term program, 6 weeks, 6 months, a year or two, but don't require a bachelor's degree in order to get that entry-level position. In many cases, entry-level positions can start at the high school level. Training occurs most commonly in vocational schools or technical schools and community colleges. And in the literature, this is referred to as the hidden STEM economy because it is more prevalent across the nation and doesn't require the same level of education. The component that was unique to technology with our project was embedded within the Oregon Career Information System. Oregon CIS is a commercial online career information delivery system. It's one of several across the nation. And what Matt and his team did was to develop and integrate new strategies within CIS to help students become aware of STEM-related careers that don't require that bachelor's degree. And so the bullets here: STEM occupation and career filter, career plans, custom forms and tools for school activities, the STEM assessment report, interest profiler and work importance locator, and the My Action Map and Map report were all tools that CIS developed specifically for this project. When we looked at the systems component of this project, we started with the student in the center and thinking about how do we expand that student's interest in STEM, or how do we develop that student interest in STEM across student, school, and community levels. And we have the model for that being the transition specialist. That's Kathy's role. A general education teacher, either in STEM or CTE, career tech education. That's Zach's role. And then that special educator, as well as someone from the community who represented the STEM business sectors. Those became our STEM team at each of the schools. Within the school and within that team, we started to talk about what is it that the students interest, what interests students? And then how do we take that interest from the student and expand it to the school level? And then how do we expand that into the community? But then also going in reverse, taking what's out in the community, bringing that into the school, and then bringing that down to the student. And so some of the activities that we did to move through that systems level, mapping our community resources that were specific to STEM, making connections with business sectors, creating opportunities once we knew what was going on in the community to make those connections back to the school. Within the school, looking at clubs, classes, and extracurricular opportunities that exist. Again, to be able to link what's happening in the school to the community, but also what's happening with the student and getting the student engaged in those other opportunities for learning STEM. And then at the student level, looking at what their preference, interest, needs, and strengths are, their pins, looking at their transition services and their individual strengths. So again, approaching the STEM, creating awareness of and engagement in STEM careers across 3 different levels: student, school, and community. And I can't think of a better pair to share what actually was done at the local level than Kathy and Zach. So I'm going to turn it over to you all.
Thank you, Charlotte. I'm Zach, and Kathy's with me, and we're going to talk about our participation with STEM Eco and how I feel, anyway, a lot of goals and things that we thought would never happen or would be impossible have happened in the last several years, and it's been exciting. And enjoyable to see changes occur when sometimes it feels it's never going to occur. I also feel that we need to start with sort of just, and I'll try and keep this part short, like who our school district is. We're a small rural school district in Oregon, and maybe some uniqueness in the state of Oregon is that we're right on the edge of a large metropolitan area, the Portland. I think I lost connection here for a second, but I'm back.
You are. We heard you say that you're on the edge of Portland.
Yes. So that distracted me a bit here, most other places sort of seem to spread from urban to suburban and rural. And so we have quite that. It offers us a pretty unique sort of position in our state. I believe, I don't know if this is no longer true, but the way Oregon is funding schools, we're one of sort of the lowest per student funded school in the state. And it sometimes amazes me how we kind of pull off the things we do with what we have and what we don't have. We started going into participation with STEM Eco with a different administration, some different staff, at least currently different facilities. At the time a few years ago, we were an AP for all school, which meant that every student was required to take several AP classes in their high school career. One of our previous administrators had a saying, which I agree with and believe just in the right context, that all boats rise and fall on the same tide. And I think that was a guiding principle for this. If we set the bar high for everyone, it's going to pull everyone up. But being a part of STEM Eco has allowed us to then focus on those students that don't get served well by AP for all. How can we set the framework for them to be successful? And skipping a really long story, we've recently been awarded the revitalization grant for CTE that will help improve some of our facilities. We currently are getting a program of study in manufacturing going. We have increased some of our other offerings with woodworking and expanded our computer science program. And all of that wasn't really on the horizon 3 or 4 years ago. And it's here now and happening. And STEM Eco has been part of that. We've had significant changes in our district administration from superintendents and principals. And it's been quite a fun ride. Kathy, I don't know if there's anything else you can add to that, but.
Well, what I would add to that is with the population that are on IEPs, we noticed that a lot of the students weren't ready leaving high school for employment that they wanted to obtain, like through the trades, et cetera. So that's when we first started with this grant. We started with that thought process. We wanted more of a work-based learning environment and more of a seamless transition for kids that are have barriers to employment or disabilities.
Yeah. Next slide, if we can. So yeah, sorry, looking at this here. 2018-19, it's been a long few years. When we joined with STEM Eco, and we were an alternate to the program. So there were 2 other schools, school districts in Oregon that definitely have sort of a diverse representative of what's of districts in the state. And so we felt like we were playing a little bit of catch up and trying to figure out as what's going on as we go along. But it really, once we figured that out, developing our goals around the student and our goals around the school and our goals around the community helps sort of guide our focus on how to help these students get the exposure and get them knowledgeable of the STEM careers and their opportunities for them outside of high school and different from this AP straight for college path. Kathy, do you have anything else to add for this slide? Okay. So the strategies we came up with to help focus around our students is identifying those students that had existing knowledge and interest in STEM activities. Conversations with college and career counselors, homeroom teachers, transition specialists, Kathy. What did they know? What did they possibly not know? And how would that tie into sort of the opportunities we could provide for them? A big piece of this was the Career Information System, the Oregon CIS, getting those students keyed into that and taking the pins and doing the research on there really helped, I feel, and we know this, help those students learn a bit more about themselves and know, become knowledgeable on what careers and what opportunities were out there for them.
So I want to say something about
Yes.
homeroom here. Until recently, we did not have homeroom. So we created in high school homerooms where each student goes to a homeroom teacher every single day, and it is going to last throughout their high school career. And we did that because, of course, CIS is very important, but to do a seamless path for a student, especially one on an IEP, we needed the teacher to be able to get to know the student and to help find their strengths and what seemed to put that gleam in their eye when a certain topic came up or a certain field trip. So that was a really important step that Corbett did to help with the transition of kids with disabilities.
Yeah, if we can do the next slide, I think. Kathy, do you want to talk about SummerWorks?
Sure. Okay,
Yeah.
so we encourage students to explore a variety of STEM careers, and we did that through several different ways. We had field trips, we had speakers come in, we had hands-on projects. We started just exploring it. And we started also talking to teachers about the hidden STEM that's in their classes. And then we also worked with the Summer Works program, an RFA, where we did pre-employment transition services throughout the community. So we reached out to community members and we talked to them about what positions they would have open for students to be placed in their program during summer, so we can start the students exploring the STEM career jobs that are out there. So we do this every year. I think this is our 4th year of participating in that program. And it's been a program that I've seen a huge growth in students and also relationships with the community members and the employment opportunities that are out there in the community. So build leadership skills. Don't you think that the homeroom have helped build the leadership skills? Just having students be able to speak up in a comfortable environment about their interests and their STEM, what they're interested in?
Yeah, I do believe so. Like the smaller groups we have in those homerooms and the implementation of CIS school-wide, and we'll talk about that in our school goals, definitely helped with that for sure. All right, next slide, please. School strategies. What I'm trying really hard in my mind not to skip ahead. A lot of what I think enabled our strategies is and going back to sort of who we are. Being a small school, so many of us wear so many different hats. It's if something needs to be done, you kind of just pick it up and get to it. And having all this collaboration helping our students at our school level and at the community, it's really allowed these strategies to work well for us. So as part of that, being able to inform all of our school faculty about identifying these hidden STEM economy careers and pathways for their students, and tying that in again to our homeroom has really helped out a lot. One of the big things we've done with making awareness, providing awareness to all of our faculty is in this program called Accessing Union Apprenticeships. And this is where several of the training centers, and Kathy, you might be able to correct me on this, in the Portland area, have get together and put on a program for educators. And I think it was an all-day virtual conference at the time, discussing, hey, here's what you need to know about the trades. And their goal was trying to bridge the gap between educators being in the classroom with students and what is needed to go to the trade school, what is needed to access that, and what are the different ones, and what's it really like. And Kathy, you were a part of helping organize this. Was this correct? Or at least informing us that this is going on and allowed our faculty to be involved?
Well, we started participating. I started going out and talking to different trades and different unions, and they formed a AUA, which is Accessing Union Apprenticeships. And the reason why they formed this is schools and classes were asking for individual, like being an electrician, being a mason, being a welder, to come to the schools individually. So they wanted to teach the faculty of schools how their job, how important it is to the students to get them into these CTE and trades. So that's how it was formed. And this is our second year participating, and it was last year. And this year we're hoping it'll be in person. And it's helped the faculty understand that their class is very important to getting these kids transition into CTE and trades.
Yes. And what's on our slide here? Build infrastructure for school strategies. A way to support this is, again, back to sort of our homeroom situation and implementing CIS, and not just for our students receiving services identified in part of STEM Eco, but we quickly identified this as a beneficial thing for everyone in our whole school. Everybody setting up a profile, everyone doing interest surveys, and building that portfolio and using the tool for research, because it's a great tool from trade schools and vocational schools all the way to what college do you want to get to, what scholarship is there, what do you want to do for graduate school. And so that tool definitely is accessible to all of our students. And so having that integrated as part of our school program I think it has and will be a really, really fruitful strategy.
Also, on this school strategies, this is probably the area where we have grown the most, because when we started with the grassroots of it, there wasn't any money involved, there wasn't any funding. And so the four of us just kind of got together and said, how are we going to make this happen in our school? And we started presenting to the board. We started talking to the superintendent, and they were shaking their head. Yeah, this sounds great. This sounds great. But when we really things moving forward was when we got our school administrators, our principal and our vice principal on board, and they decided that this is a direction that wanted our school to go, our high school to go. And then we started seeing things move quickly at the school level. We started looking at the value of work-based learning and transitioning into a trades program or a community college instead of necessarily a university.
Which had been your
Yes.
focus at Corbett for a number of years, right? Was that everyone was accepted into college, or everyone was
Yes.
on a college bound.
Right. Since
Yes.
2008, right. Everyone was college bound, everyone graduated, everyone. Yes, definitely.
Which I feel there was a lot of benefit to that, but
Mhm.
I think our a lot of other changes in our district, but also our participation with STEM Eco allowed us to take a step back and say, okay, if we're winning here, then who's losing or who's being left out, and how can we adjust or pivot or refocus or change our strategies to address that as well.
And just to put a little exclamation point on your assessing union apprenticeships and that relationship to the high school classes and how what teachers were teaching connects to that. When you were using the AP for All model, as I recall, there wasn't a lot of room for variation in that curriculum, right, during the course of the school year, because it was so prescribed. And so there was some initial resistance or hesitancy to try to look at how you were going to engage career awareness or include career awareness within that very structured AP curriculum. Is that true?
Yes,
That's
yeah,
very true. Yeah.
yeah. When you have a fixed amount and a fixed deadline, that's one of the first things that sort of, maybe we'll get to that later.
Yeah. And another tool that, excuse me, Zachary, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay. Another tool we used at the school level that has really moved our students forward has been, we started clubs, and during school time in school, we split apart, and most faculty members have a club, and students get to pick what club they go to. And it might be robotics, or it might be trucks and cars, or it might be just even a fun gaming. We have a card gaming one, but the kids get to go to those clubs and they get to explore different opportunities that they get to choose. And they get to switch clubs 3 times a year. And it's been, I think it really engaged students in the career awareness that's out there. And we've kind of done it in a more fun way to introduce students to individual plans or exploring things that they never probably would have explored in the past.
Yeah, I'd agree for sure.
Yeah.
All right, continuing on with our school strategies. One thing that was, I guess, new for us, or it felt new maybe, that I think was successful, and it should make sense, is making these STEM opportunities visible. And hope maybe you can see here how sometimes the school strategy and the student strategy, and we'll see the community goals, sometimes they mesh together, and we had to sometimes take a step back and say, okay, what goal is this for, and how should it be implemented? But this was a strategy we took as one of part of our school goals and school strategies, is just making what's out there for students and what pathways are available, making it visible. So from posters to bulletin boards, to ensuring that like Kathy and I and the rest of our STEM team are making ourselves aware of opportunities in the community out there, and then bringing those in and informing those students that might be interested in those, and making that stuff visible.
Yeah, and on this part right here, this portion, the bulletin board used to be in my office because we used to only allow the bulletin board to students that were on IEPs or 504s. And they would come in and the kids were so engaged, pulling things off the bulletin board, wanting to know exactly what apprenticeship is or what workshop this is. So we decided as a school to very much be inclusive when it comes to our kids and IEPs and our general population. So we're moving actually the bulletin board out into the commons area, and we're going to offer it to all students. And I'm pretty excited about that, because it's just, it started off in my office and now it's being moved out so the whole school can benefit from that.
And as I think I stated in the beginning, where we are and where we were several years ago, in terms of as a school, through lots of changes, I don't think we could have imagined or didn't think it was possible. And so one of our strategies is dream big. And I like this first sentence, so I put it in there. What would you plan for if you knew you could not fail? For what, 3 or 4 years ago when we started this, I was doing computer science and robotics and engineering in an old chemistry lab building that we had. There was maybe a few career related classes, but not a CTE program of study. And now we have a revitalization grant that we've earned. We're implementing a program of study. We have computer science, woodworking, manufacturing courses that are offered. We have a woodworking and manufacturing facility as best as we could put together for that. Charlotte, I believe you'd mentioned to us before, like it's some very large amount of time that these institutional changes happen, like several years. And so I remember you telling us that, well, I think when I was feeling a little discouraged, like this stuff is probably never going to happen. And so, one of our pie in the sky goals was, well, let's have a makerspace at our school or a facility to do these hands-on classes. And I really thought that would never happen. And it's going to happen. It has happened, and it is in the process of growing. So a strategy to dream big, I think, is a very worthwhile one to have.
And I would just add on to that, implementation science is what you're thinking about there, Zach, is, to make systemic change at every level, it takes 2 to 4 years. And so that's where, it could be an 8-year project or, much longer when you think about what's happening at a community level, school level, and student level. And I will let the secret out that you guys didn't put a makerspace on your school goal. You whispered about it. You kind of thought about it over here on the corner, but I remember the conversation saying, hey guys, put it on your goal. It's not going to hurt anything. And you weren't willing to take that step. And yet look at where you are in such a short period of time. So kudos to that big dream.
Yes, for sure.
The other area where we really grew was in collaboration with the staff, with delivery of services for kids on IEPs and disabilities. I mean, it seems like everyone, once we started going to this plan, everyone was on board, and I started seeing a lot more effective practices and resources and strategies to support students on disabilities. The whole school seemed to be a part of it. And because they were doing it for every student. So it was a very collaborative portion of where we started seeing a lot of job exploration, counseling, and, work-based learning experiences. And it was done throughout the whole school by every staff member.
Yeah, you guys started very small,
Yes.
just with students who are experiencing disabilities.
Mhm.
And, the initial goal was to get them more involved school-wide, community-wide. It wasn't necessarily to have the whole school do a 90-degree or 180-degree turn. And yet that's exactly what you guys were able to accomplish.
Yes.
Correct.
You ready to talk about community?
Yes. So with our community strategies, they've been difficult to implement with I feel like the last 2 or 3 years with the inability to really engage in person in the community. But we've done our best, and I feel I've had definitely some success with some of these programs and strategies that we've been able to implement. And Kathy, do you want to talk about some of these? Because I feel you're the main one that is able to go out and talk with a lot of our partners a lot more frequently than I am able to be engaged with, for sure.
Well, the first thing we did for community strategies is we went out and mapped all the STEM businesses in our area, or the places with paid employment that our students could get to. And probably another really big change that happened in our school, and with the 4 of us, we used to start totally with student, then moved to school, and then to community. And then we kind of turned things around. We thought, wait a minute, we need to go out into the community and we need to see what these employers are asking for. And then we need to bring it back to the school and make school changes. And then we need to find out what the students are interested in and plug them into those strategies that we have to get them to the jobs out into the community. So we kind of flipped the way the pyramid a little bit to think more about what the community offer and what they are looking for in an employee. So we went and visited STEM businesses and industries. We completely made a map with all the businesses on it. Then we started doing different field trips. I teamed up with another school from Reynolds, and we went out and did an auto blast where we visited 6 different auto related businesses, and we showed the kids what STEM jobs they offered. We did one summer during our summer works program. We did a farm to table where we're very large agriculture area. So we went to all these farms and found out all the farming that's happening. And then we went to the restaurants that bought the food and saw how they served them. We also have implemented a program. Corbett went to our local community college, Mount Hood, and we said to them, we need an exploratory class in your, that our students can go to that's going to look at all these STEM and trade jobs. We can't offer it. Can you? And after about 2 years, they finally said, yes, we can offer it. So for the last 3 months, we've had kids in this trades program where they're exploring the trades that are offered in the community colleges. And it's very popular. And we're going to go ahead and do it all 3 trimesters next year. And that's another community partner that we use. And we use the partners in our area as much as we can. We use a company called Impact Northwest, where they actually come into our school and they teach a class to our beginning students who are starting to look for exploratory work-based learning. They teach them about construction, they teach them about IT, and then they help them create a resume. And we use Job Corps also because they're in our backyard. We have a Job Corps that's literally about a mile away. And our Mount Hood Community College, and what VR is a huge part of the team, where they help us do the plan of employment and help us fund some of the ways that we can get kids into the community colleges and the trades.
I think you can go to the next
slide.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying, my internet is slow.
No, yeah. This is, I think, the part I'm really excited to talk about, because I think there's some really important things that we'd like to share that maybe not everyone can implement or see happening in their homes, but stuff that is maybe out of the box that has worked for us really, really well. So why did all these strategies work? And we'll talk about each one of these individually, but having a small school environment has allowed us the flexibility to do some of the things we need to do. Implementing the career information system has been useful and a big part of our STEM eco goals and our larger direction of our school. And blurring the lines kind of between gen ed and special ed and what that means for a gen ed teacher and how that has helped us out. And I think Kathy mentioned as well, shifting our focus sort of from school, student school to community, to taking the perspective of the other way, what's out in our community, and how does that translate down to the student? Having an open-minded administration has been really helpful. And this one I can't stress enough, but bottom-up initiatives instead of sort of top-down. But we'll take a few minutes here and talk about each one of those. I don't think I said this at the beginning, but and Kathy, you I think shared this with me just a while ago, but we are 400-ish students in grades 8 through 12 in our high school, right? Where small rural schools get to make things happen anyway they can. And as that is happening, I think Brianna put that in the chat. Staff are wearing many hats in lots of schools. It's a thing that happens. But I also feel the small school environment does give us a bit of flexibility to do that. Wearing many hats is difficult when there's a lot of systemic bureaucracy. And the smaller your group you work with, I feel that sometimes there's not as much of that. We have a really collaborative environment, and I think a lot of it also comes down to personnel. Any one of my colleagues, if you ask them, hey, can you help out with this? It's almost always going to be, sure, what can I do? And having that community in a small school, I think has set us up for success in a lot of these goals. Kathy, do you have anything to add to that?
Just as we last year set up an 8-9 academy in our high school. 8th grade used to be in the middle school, and we decided to set up an 8-9 academy, and that's where we start our exploration of jobs and different employment opportunities. So I think that also was encouraging for students to feel like we cared at that age level to start doing job exploration and finding out what their interests and what they love to do. So we start at 8th grade.
Yeah. And the career information system has, I think we've mentioned, reiterating the same stuff maybe, but a big part of us being able to fulfill our goals, not only for the students we're trying to reach through STEMeco, but back to maybe the phrase I said at the beginning, all boats rise and fall in the same tide. If it's good for one student, it's probably going to be good for others. And so having our administration on board with deciding that this is a useful thing for everyone, and having our homeroom time to do this as well has been a big part of getting our goals fulfilled. And I feel we are still just at sort of the tip of the iceberg of diving into CIS and really utilizing it to its full potential. And we're excited to continue to do that and planning for next year to use it a lot more.
And other states have either CIS, Career Information System, or something similar. The national version of what Oregon has is Into Careers. So you might have a state that is using Into Careers as their career information service delivery model. And I know Arizona has a CIS. I can't remember some of the others, but there is a CIS for other states, or CIS equivalent.
Yeah. This is one I feel I've personally grown a lot in the last 3 to 4 years, blurring the lines between general education and special education. I think here at Corbett, we do, I don't have a lot of other data points to judge by it, but a pretty good job of inclusiveness as much as we are able to. What am I trying to think here? There's a lot going on in my head.
Well,
having, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, what we're able to do, we're not only able to meet the 5 required pre-ETS employment, transition goals for our kids that are on IEPs, but we also find that we're doing this for gen ed kids also. And it's become a nice collaboration to extend the whole school. They, as we were pushing into homerooms and talking to the kids on IEPs and special ed, they were, and sitting down with them and talking about, okay, so this is your plan, this is your goal. Other kids just wanted to be a part of that. So we decided, our admin decided to implement it over the whole school.
Yeah, and being able to, I think this goes back to a lot of things, but having a small school and administration that you have the ear of, it's easy to say, okay, I have this robotics class or this manufacturing class, which students on IEPs would benefit from being in there and seeing the opportunities that everybody else is going to have, and then vice versa. When we have an opportunity for STEM career information or anything else to go to, it's presented to the whole class, and everyone, it gets to be a part of that. So everything's pretty inclusive, and we're able to do that as needed and sort of on the fly because of our school environment and the personnel that we have as well.
Next slide there.
This might be a quick one, but I think Kathy, you and I both mentioned this, but starting out with STEM Eco, we really did the focusing on what the student wanted or needed to know, how we can facilitate that as a school, and then what's out there in the community. And this shift in perspective to go the other way, I think has been very beneficial for us as well. What does our local community have available? What does it look like? How can we bring that information into our school and make it visible, and then bring it in front of the students that might be able to choose that, hey, that's something that's interesting and it's here, and I like that. How can I learn more? This has been a really, really big one as well. We've had a big change in administration the last 3 or 4 years. We've had a superintendent that I loved. He was a great guy. And back to the small school thing, I don't know, there's a lot of school districts where you can just go and sit down and have lunch with your superintendent during the high school lunch break because he just finished teaching a class in the school. So it's kind of nice. And that sort of culture of bucking the status quo, I think, is still ingrained. Even though we've changed superintendents, we've changed building principal administration. What's the out of the box thinking that can help us reach our goals? And I think part of that is the personnel that we have from our staff and administration, but also a small place with minimum resources. You have to do that to serve all your kids as best as you can. But that's been one thing I think that has really been helpful is people in charge who have an open ear to crazy ideas. We want to make our space. How can we make it happen?
And again, your status quo was AP for all students.
Yeah.
And so high rigor of academic focus, limited on-site, hands-on activities. I mean, part of the reason I think, Zach, your involvement was so critical was because you had one of the few classes where students could get into hands-on learning, right? Because there was restrictions, again, because of the AP, but also some of the limited facilities, right?
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
And fighting uphill.
Yeah, we still do offer 18 AP courses. I mean, we still have them at our school. We're offering just a lot of other opportunities also. So we're trying to meet every single student where they're at. Yeah,
it's striking that balance of how can we ask everyone to step up to this high bar of academic rigor, but also have these opportunities for them to explore and not get discouraged by maybe a singular pathway, that there are lots of places for them to fit in and to learn what they want to learn and do what they want to do.
And marrying them a little bit, Yeah.
Including classes now at the community college that are open for students that maybe wouldn't have wanted to go to college
right
beyond high school previously.
Correct.
But because they saw that connection between their interest and what was available. And then your administration allowing that to take place. Because again, early on, that was not something that your administrators were necessarily open to allowing, right?
Correct. Right. Yeah. And that has been a huge part, having them go to that class. So many of the students I work with did not want to go to a community college, but now that they're attending that class, they're seeing something that them, and now they want to continue the education in that trade. So, yes.
And I think this is the big one that ties it all together, that works well for us. And I know I have teacher friends in other districts, this really isn't the way it is in other places. But I think this is so important. Bottom-up initiatives, being able to go to our administration and say, hey, this is something that needs to happen, and having a receptive ear to be like, oh, okay, what's the plan? How can we do this? It's sometimes super personnel dependent. I don't know anybody in our STEM team, if they weren't here, I don't necessarily know. We would be where we are, but I don't know where in that range where we'd be where we are. I think though, myself and all my colleagues do know that we have the faith and support of our administration. And that last bullet point there, I think we all feel that. Great trust comes great results. There's an expectation to, hey, if you have an idea, great, let's make it happen and make it great. I think that is one thing that's really helped us be successful in this field.
So thank you, Kathy and Zach, very much for your time. We are out of time. If you guys have questions for Zach or Kathy, I'm sure they would be more than happy to answer your questions. And here is their email contacts. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, Zach and Kathy, I didn't
That's
do a good
okay,
job
that's
of watching
perfect.
time.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I knew we were getting close.
Yep.
Nice job. That was really good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much. It's
didn't.
always wonderful to see you both.
Agreed.
Good to see you too, Brianna. We'll be working a lot together the next couple of weeks, I think.
Yes,
Yeah. Definitely. You'll hear from me daily.
I know, right?
Thank you. But you may hear from Arizona.
Oh, yay.
Betty, we would love to hear from Arizona. And thanks for putting notes in the chat about the new system in Arizona.
Oh, yeah,
NUCIS.
and one of our strategic plan initiatives is to try and get more students with